Hey, it's Timespark11 with my collection of LEGO Ganglion mechs from Xenoblade Chronicles X. If you haven't seen these before, quick explanation. About half a year ago, I think, I started trying to use up all the Bionicle parts that I had lying around. So I put together a bunch of mechas and based them off of Xenoblade Ganglion skulls. And as a general thing with all of them, I added way more weapons on them than the original designs had. And they're not incredibly accurate replicas, since again they were just made to use up whatever pieces I could throw together. So I'll start off with the first one they made. I think this was the first one. The Cumova. I'll move this out of the way. So I have all of them. I think the Cumova has the correct body shape the most out of them. Probably since it's smaller, so I didn't really need to add much to it to stabilize it, so I was able to keep the proper looking body shape. As you go up in size with LEGO mechs, you need more pieces to stabilize it so it can actually stand up on its own. Also, except for I think the Pugilith, all of these have gotten some updates since the last time I showed them originally. So for the Cumova, one of those updates is that I added this spinning saw shield. Not really based off of anything from the game that I can remember. I just like the idea of putting a spinning saw shield on it. It was actually something that I was working on for, I believe I mentioned this, but I'm making a second Lego Skell, human Skell. After the Formula one, I'm also making an Amdusius. So I wanted to put a spinning saw shield on that. Couldn't fit it anywhere, so I decided to put it on the Cumova instead. Spike cannon weapon, a little Gatling gun, railgun, bubble bombs, and some generic missile launchers, missile pods. All these pipes were also not part of the original design. I just put them on there because they looked cool, and I had pipes to use up. Put that over here to make room for the next one. So this one is based off of Lila's Galder. I'll fix that when I show that one. Got the big floating shield things, shield weapons, whatever they are. And then the ones on the arms. So obviously couldn't get these to just float independently, so I put them on little arms of their own. Galders don't normally hold any handheld weapons, but I had some pieces that I wanted to use up for... Well, I couldn't really find any other use for them, so I just gave it some handheld weapons with an axe and a ether sword. This one was made somewhat differently from the rest. Most of the armoring on it was made just with bionicle parts alone instead of lots of regular bricks put over them like I did with the others. That's because I made this one before I started really putting lots of regular bricks on because it looked better as armor. And one of the updates made to this more recently was putting more armor up on the shoulders here to give it more of the proper top-heavy body shape that it's supposed to have. This one has a bionicle head that's turned upside down because turning that upside down gave it pretty much the exact face that it's supposed to have for a Galder, other than these wispy flame things. If I could remove those, I would. I mean, I actually could remove them if I want to cut it up, but I'd rather not do that. So Galders are supposed to just have pointy feet with thrusters in them, but since I needed this to be able to stand, I had to add to the feet. Some small guns on the arms. Lots of thrusters on the back. Next up, the Pugilith. These things are basically the Star Wars version, the Xenoblade version of Star Wars walkers. I added many more missiles to it than it's supposed to have. Or at least they're supposed to be visible. It does have openings on it for launching missiles, but I wanted to make it look like it actually was firing those missiles, so instead of making armor plating around it, I just put on missiles coming out. But still more missiles than it actually has in-game. So because this one was a lot smaller, I was able to put in more details with it than the others. The Puge, or however you're supposed to pronounce it, I'm pretty sure it's Pugilith, with its beam sabers, handheld beam sabers. And lastly, the biggest of them, the Cider or Satyr. I'm pretty sure it's Cider, because it looks like it's supposed to be pronounced in German. This one's so big that it has a lot of trouble being on screen at once. So the updates this one have mostly just been adding little bits of armor on it, like around here. This one is so big that a lot of detail had to be sacrificed for stability. As you can see, putting big beams on the back of the legs so it can stand up. So the basis for this one was the only blue cider in Xenoblade X, which is a Night Cage variant, but Night Cage was too hard to build, so I made it a railgun variant. And I kept just a little nod to the Night Cage weapon by having these on the sides. Weird thing is that when you get the Night Cage, it's an electric weapon, but when they use it on you, I think it was gravity. There's a few scale weapons like that where when they drop from enemies, they're a different element than when the enemies use it on you. This thing's pretty heavy and hard to hold. Technically, it's actually the easiest to hold because of not having a lot of stuff in the way, but because of the weight, it's kind of hard to hold because of that. I still need to add more details to the railguns on the back. Also a quick size comparison so you can see how much bigger this one is than the others. And then the human skulls that I have are also about the same height as the Kumova. And then there's the Tyrant ciders, which are supposed to be even bigger than this. So that's it for my Ganglion Mech collection. Probably won't be adding any more because that covers all the main Ganglion mechs. The only other ones are not quite mechs. There's like the Z-Doms, which I wouldn't really be able to make exactly because they don't have any feet or way to stand up on their own. Plus, those things are even more massive, so that would be even harder to make than the cider. But anyway, if you watch to the end, then comment Blossom Dance down below, and if there's any characters that you want to see made as minifigures or any LEGO Pokemon that you want to see me make, then you can look at the commission info on Twitter linked in the description. So, see you next time!